Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Close Up. I'm your co-host, Joe.
And I'm Ryan.
But are you? Are you really?
Are you Joe?
I asked you first. You're just deflecting blame now. You might be a Skrull. In fact, I think you are a Skrull.
No.
If you don't... I don't know if, your audience probably know already. We're talking about the Skrulls from Marvel, Secret Invasion. That's what we're talking about here today. Full spoilers ahead for the series. So, zooming into our medium shot, what was your hype level like going into Secret Invasion?
It was kind of medium, if I'll be honest. It wasn't super low, it wasn't super high, but I felt that, hey, it's really cool to see Nick Fury have his own show. It'd be really cool to see what they actually do right with the Skrulls instead of, making them seem like this sort of misunderstood race that was driven from their home. Not that that was a bad plot at all for the Captain Marvel movie, but it's not what fans wanted to see. It's definitely not what I wanted to see. I think Skrulls is a very that story arc in the Marvel universe is very interesting arc, and the fact that, hey, this guy that you knew for 10 years was an alien the whole time, you never even knew it. I think that's pretty interesting, and I was excited to see what they did with that. And they did something.
Yeah, they sure did something. I had the faintest glimmer of hope for this show. Marvel, as you all know at this point, has disappointed me a whole lot for the last 4 years, but Secret Invasion seemed like a potential course correction, a way for them to do something a little more grounded, a little more serious. Oh, what's this? They're doing a spy drama starring Nick Fury it's an espionage thing, it's a thriller, we don't know who to trust because it's that extra layer on top of a spy story where you literally don't know who to trust because anyone could be in disguise. They could be a Skrull or an alien. They're a Secret Invasion. It's a very interesting idea for a show. Starring Sam Jackson. I know he's a good talent, so this could be anything. And so my hype level wasn't strong because I've been burned by Marvel enough in the last few years to not get very excited for things, but I had some hope in this. Let's see what I thought, though. Let's get into our close-up and discuss this thing. I, like you, was a bit mixed on how they handled the Skrulls in Captain Marvel, because from my knowledge of the Marvel lore, Skrulls are bad guys. They're kind of a menace in the universe, and to see them as this misunderstood group that they were trying to help, that was a little bit weird to me. I thought that was like, oh, this is wrong, but okay. We're supposed to feel... Okay, I did think they used it okay in that movie, if only because you expect the Skrulls to be bad guys, and everyone in that movie at the start does expect the Skrulls to be bad guys, and then you find out that they are just misunderstood. And I'm like, oh, you're using the fans' perception of Skrulls against us in Captain Marvel, which was actually a little bit clever at the time. But I'm glad that now they get to present the Skrulls as the villains we always knew they could be. Except even then, there are different factions within the Skrulls. There's the faction that's fed up with the pacifist stuff and wants to be like, no, we're taking this planet for us, going back to our warrior ways. And then there's the other half that are allied with Fury, and they say, oh, well, we're fine to just wait around here another however long until Nick Fury can find us a planet to live on. Our warrior ways are what got us destroyed in the first place. But I do enjoy getting to see the Skrulls as legitimate threats. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a show to watch. Because that shape-shifting thing is overpowered and it's scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. This show, it has its ups and downs. It's weird because it's like, I can't say it's bad because I think the people who are in it are trying really hard to make it something great.
Yes.
But they're not really supported well in terms of the writing. I think the writing really failed them here. Where I think it's directed okay. I think it's edited well enough. I mean, it's edited like any other Marvel product, and the actors are really trying their hardest, but they're just not given that much support. Except for, I guess I'd say, Samuel L. Jackson and
Amelia Clark.
Amelia Clark and Olivia
Ben
Colman. She
Olivia
gets
Colman.
Yeah, those three get some pretty good scenes here and there.
I actually thought Olivia Colman's character, Sonya, I believe, was pretty useless for most of the show. I didn't really get what they were going with.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Olivia Colman's great actress. She's clearly having a good time on screen here. Her energy is really good. I like what you're doing here. But the character just was like, well, what are you doing that Fury can't do? Why do we need this extra human agent who isn't really... Like, okay, you're kind of a rogue element here. You have your own agenda, which is she's an MI6 agent and she's just working for Britain's national security. Okay. And she gets that cool torture scene early for her introduction. Like that
was crazy.
Yeah.
That torture scene.
Yeah, one of the most brutal scenes in the MCU probably, but I just didn't really see her point until the very end. When it finally got interesting, when she and Gaia decided to go their own way. Let's not make the mistake Fury and Talos made and be friends. You're going to use me, I'm going to use you. Let's just do this. Okay. So you're setting her up for later. Got it. She'll be more important after the fact. But for most of the show, just kind of there. Maybe someone for Fury to talk to. If anything, she nearly replaced Maria Hill as Fury's one person that he could kind of talk to, which
that's what bugs me.
Yeah, they just off her in episode 1,
and it wasn't. What pisses me off about that death, it just wasn't earned. It was more so just what's a shock factor moment that we can use at the end of episode 1 to have people come back because we feel we don't have a strong enough episode to bring people back.
In principle, it's an interesting idea for your pilot episode to kill off a character who's been around since... How long's Maria Hill been around? Since the first Avengers?
Since the first Avengers, so 2012.
So she's been in this universe... Yeah, she's been in this universe 11 years. As a supporting character, mind you, she was never a large role in these movies, but she's always been around. We know who this person is and what she means to Fury. And to kill her off in episode 1... Yes, it's going to get people on Fury's side in that, oh yeah, this Gravik killed my right-hand girl and now I'm out for revenge. It makes the threat seem serious. It proves anybody can die on this show. Nobody's safe. It sets up the stakes very early. That's good. But also it felt disrespectful to the character Maria Hill because the way she went out, like, oh, she just gets... Gravik shapeshifts into Fury and then executes her. And then it's more used as a plot point for Fury. Oh, in the next episode, his mom is pissed at Fury. I mean, Maria Hill's mom is angry at Fury for letting her die. Rhodey uses it as leverage against Fury later. Oh, you don't keep in line. I'm going to release this footage of you shooting Maria Hill on a mission. But it's
it's weird.
It doesn't matter. It's not really about her. It's about how it affects Fury. And it's more about, it sets up the stakes for the audience and it's how it affects Fury, but it doesn't really have anything meaningful to do with her, which feels disrespectful to Maria Hill as a character. Because I think Kobe Smulders would have been a great supporting cast member if she'd been allowed to keep going on this show.
Well, I think she said something, or I don't know if it was Marvel telling her to say it, but she said she had a big part to play in the show.
Lies.
Which is a huge lie. And I feel I would have respected the choice more if they actually did something with those stakes. Where like, hey, any main original character can be killed off at once, or anybody can be a Skrull, when really it's only, I want to say 2 people.
Yeah, it was just
like 2 main people are just Skrulls, and one of them is just not really that important.
It was a good opening scene, though. I did really like that when Everett Ross is going to talk to that one analyst guy, and he's like, "You don't know what it is, man. They're everywhere.
Charlie Day.
The aliens are everywhere." He's like a Fox Mulder kind of guy. He's just, nobody believes him. Everybody thinks he's crazy, and Everett Ross is just listening like, "Yeah, shape-shifting aliens. Okay, sure." And then he kills him. Oh, Everett Ross got taken over. Oh, that's interesting. And this is what the show is kind of cool because, well, I'll just get to this up front. I think it's basically exactly Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but good this time. It's literally the exact same thing. It's a terrorist group trying to do their own ends. They have, well, I don't really remember like if you look up plot comparisons from Falcon.
It's a terrorist group who are trying to
They feel screwed over by the establishment.
The government as well, from their own people, trying to save them.
You're trying to make a sympathetic bad guy too. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it was Carly, and this one it's Gravik.
The only difference is Gravik knows he's a terrorist, and he enriches it. He's like, yeah, I'm a terrorist because fuck these people. They fucked me over for past 30 years. Whereas whoever you said before,
Carly,
what's her name? Carly. She was like, no, I'm not a terrorist. And then the next scene, she blows up a bunch of people. So it's just kind of like, you're lying to yourself. Like, how can I sympathize with you? We're here with Gravik. I personally loved Gravik as a villain. I loved him as a character. I really like the actor. I don't know what his name is, but I think he did a phenomenal job. Yeah.
Kingsley Benedict.
He did great.
He was a highlight of the show. Basically, every scene he stole for me. But my other comparison was, and the show also doesn't pretend like its lead can't do its job.
Yeah.
That pissed me off about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just like they act like Sam can't be Captain America just because he's black. I don't question Fury at all. I'm like, I don't doubt Nick Fury can do his job. I didn't doubt Sam could be Captain America either. Why are you even introducing these questions? Like, I know a lot of people did doubt Fury in this one, but I don't doubt Nick Fury. He's like,
he didn't doubt himself too. He was like, oh, you're fired. And then he immediately breaks a guy's finger to show Rhodey, like, you can fire me, but I'm still fucking here. I was like, there we go. There's something good.
What's that line? It's a great Nick Fury line where he says, I'm Nick Fury. Even when I'm out, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good line.
And very encapsulating of the character.
It's just so tough because this feels like, I mean, we know the opening credits were written by an AI, but it feels like this entire plot was written by an AI. It's just the most basic spy espionage show that it is.
That's what I thought from the pilot. I'm like, this is so generic. They're just, okay, so we have terrorists who are trying to do a false flag operation of some kind, make Americans and Russians hate each other for kind of vague reasons. And, we have to stop them. We literally don't even find out Gravik's real plan till about episode 5 out of 6.
And I still don't even understand it.
By the time we did find out what he was actually doing, this is actually kind of interesting when I found out that plan. But for 2/3 of the show, we're just led to believe it's a very generic terrorist plot with, they're just trying to destroy the world. So Gravik's plan, to my understanding, was he was trying to make a false flag operation between the Russians and the Americans, start a nuclear war, which would wipe out all life on Earth, except Skrulls, because Skrulls are immune to radiation.
Yeah.
Which is why they could live in that nuclear base. But also, this false flag operation was just the tip of the iceberg for his plan, because what he really wanted to do was get this vial of Avenger DNA that Nick Fury had hidden away after the Endgame battle, when apparently S.H.I.E.L.D. went across the battlefield and stole the DNA of the Avengers. Every Avenger spilled blood in that battle, so they say. And he wanted to use that vial to basically level up his people, because the Skrulls used to be warmongers and they got their asses handed to them by the Kree, and they've been on the run for decades and can't find a home. So Gravik, he took over Talos's position as head general, kind of got everyone under his banner, and then he wanted this vial to basically, I don't know what the term is, but just do a eugenics on his people and turn them into a master race of nobody's going to screw with us again. We're the most powerful. We're bringing us up to not just our full genetic potential, but the Skrulls can handle this kind of DNA shape-shifting and getting these powers. So we're going to make a race of super Skrulls and lay waste to the galaxy or whoever's opposed to us. We're never going to be on the run again. So it's a longer-term plan. Earth is just, he wants to use as a staging ground, but he wants... It's a long-term ploy for his people. The politics and everything is just it's a short-term thing. But that's all we're led to believe it is for most of it. I love that scene when he's trying to gain power, though, when he kind of talks to that council of Skrulls. And
yeah, that's a good scene. Episode 2 was a highlight.
Yeah, and when some of them are like, no, we're not really feeling your plan. You're just like, okay, then you're dead.
Yeah. Exactly.
Who else is against me? Nobody? Okay, we're good. Let's go.
Yeah, and just a random casting of Shooter McGavin being there too. I don't know why he was there. Anyway. But yeah, it's just Gravik's plan. Okay. So I can kind of forgive it because he technically has a completely different plan, but for the first 4 episodes, we're led to believe that he wants Fury dead. Because he didn't find him a planet, he feels betrayed him, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. He has 2 opportunities to kill him, just right then and there. Yep. Where it's in the first episode where they're in the crowd, he could shapeshift whatever, and then it's in the 4th episode where it's them attacking the president of the United States, and then Fury's just standing right there in front of him. But then he, spoilers, kills Talos instead, or he kills Talos and then Fury shoots him, and then he just has the opportunity there. It's just so... and I know it's like, it's kind of a cliche, especially in Hollywood movies, where this villain has this ultimate plan that they want revenge on this one character, and they want to kill him, but they don't want to kill him now. They want to kill him at the most opportune time. But it's just, in that opportune time, he becomes an idiot, because does he really think Nick Fury, who is a human, is just going to walk into a nuclear power plant that's full of radiation with no backup? If you're telling me Gravik actually thinks that, then you're telling me that your villain of the entire show is an idiot, which you have not told me through the first 5 episodes. And yes, you could say he's run up on emotions or whatever, but it's just, if you treat your characters dumb, then you look dumb. That's just my thought on it. And I saw that twist coming from a mile away, like, that's a Skrull. I didn't think it was Gaia, but that's a Skrull.
No, I didn't really see it coming, if only because I don't really think ahead when I watch things. I'm just so locked in on the moment. I'm just watching what I see. But when it was revealed as Gaia, it was very unsatisfying. In fact, I think it ruined the whole scene. Because I thought that was actually a good scene. It was finally Gravik's chance to unload on Fury everything he's been building up for decades about how he put his faith in this guy who let him down constantly, who turned his people into a bunch of his personal assassins, and to prop him up further on the governmental social ladder. Just so, Fury he used the Skrulls, didn't keep his promises, and now acts shocked when they're fed up with it. And Gravik finally says all this to Fury and throws it back in his face, and oh, whoops, it's not Fury. That pissed me off, because I'm like, oh, finally, the villain, who does kind of have a point. Of course, you don't agree with his methods, but I think Gravik is actually an interesting character. I was very intrigued by his story, and I liked this emotional catharsis that he was giving. And but he actually wasn't talking to him, and then he dies. Great. That's another disappointing ending.
Gravik was really good because not the actor did phenomenal, especially in that scene. His performance was off the charts. Definitely a highlight of the show, like you said. But I was actually scared of him sometimes, where he was very unpredictable. Yeah. It was intimidating, and as soon as you crossed him, he wasn't going to be like, don't do it again. He would just straight up shoot someone.
I love that scene when Beto and some of the other guys were ambushed him in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Because they realized he was going too far, and then he just takes them all out.
Murders all of them.
But that was
like, oh my god.
That was a pretty cool and generally grounded fight. Just a fist fight in the cafeteria, trying to restrain this guy as much as they possibly can. They had a bag over his head trying to choke him out, and that was pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Gravik dying was a complete waste because he was so. I don't know if they knew what they had.
Another villain killed.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if they knew what they had in this show. If they wrote the villain to be whatever, and then Kingsley Benadir did such a great job that, oh crap, what did we do? This guy was actually really good. We didn't expect Gravik to be this interesting thanks to this actor. But they should have pivoted. They should have kept him. Because from my comic book knowledge, Super Skrull is one of the Fantastic Four's main enemies.
Yes.
And now I'm very disappointed we're not going to get to see Super Skrull face off against the Fantastic Four. Unless, of course, they make Gaia Super Skrull and then, her dealings with Olivia Colman put her at odds with the Fantastic Four is possible.
Who I've heard now she is up there in the most powerful characters in the MCU. Because she has all the powers now.
She would be.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's kind of bullshit, but it's also it's the kind of comic book whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Collider superpowers with superhuman DNA and Skrulls can take it for some. I don't care. It is what it is. I'm not going to complain about
too.
I'm not going to complain about the pseudoscience.
At the end of episode 3, where Gravik just shoots Emilia Clarke. I was at the end of that episode because I binged it all when they all came out. I watched episode 1 and 2 before, but then I finished episode 3. I was like, you didn't cast Emilia Clarke, a TV goldmine, and then just murder her halfway through the show. There's no way. And then I started the next episode, and I was like, okay, phew.
I had the opposite reaction. I watched it week to week, and I was shocked they had the balls to kill off Emilia Clarke halfway through, cast such a big actress, and then off her halfway through. I'm like, oh, I actually give Marvel a whole lot of credit for this. You had me expecting she'd be right to the end, but you actually subverted my expectations. And she's back. Damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, Gaia was okay. Emilia, all her best traits are probably brought out by Emilia Clarke, to be honest. I don't think on paper she's that interesting.
No.
But
she did her best with what she had.
I like Talos more. Talos was great. I didn't care about Talos in Captain Marvel, or even Far From Home when he's brought up briefly. But
the end credit scene.
I know. I mean, technically, the Nick Fury in that movie was Talos the whole time, but
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we're being technical. I think I saw an interview where Ben Mendelsohn even joked where he was like, oh yeah, I had to carry all of Far From Home. Sam Jackson showed up for a little bit, but
that's funny.
I was doing the whole thing. But yeah, I thought Ben Mendelsohn was fantastic, and I was sad that they brought Gaia back just to kill him off because he made such a good impression on me in the first half of this show. And I'm like, okay, fine. Talos gets the heroic sacrifice. He saves the president and proves Skrulls can be good, except it doesn't matter because the president declares war on Skrulls anyway at the end, conveniently forgetting one actually helped him. So they basically just said Talos' optimism and hope for the future of human Skrull coexistence was all for nothing. He did his best. Gravik was right to believe that Gravik and Fury were right to believe that human xenophobia wins out. And they basically leave it completely unhopeful. Oh yeah, and then Fury creates all this mess just to dip right back off into space. Which,
what the fuck? Like, come on now.
Things are, he literally came back, made things worse, and then left right as mass assassinations are starting. And to me, it's something about that last montage really, it kind of got to my core, just the scene when, like, the political assassination, like, the British Prime Minister speaking or something, and then they just shoot her dead, but she's a human. Mm-hmm. Like, that's weird. That's
dark.
Yeah, dark is what I'm thinking about. It's just, okay, things are getting really bad here. Like, people are killing other people just because they might be Skrulls.
I better leave.
Like a Skrull genocide is happening. The president is basically like, oh, they're all refugees on our planet, but let's kill them all anyway.
Kill them all.
Wipe them out. All of them.
It should, yeah. It's like,
And
okay,
Fury
I brought
leaves.
the skulls to this planet. Talos is gone. Gravik is gone. Guy is there, but she's not really a leader. I guess I better leave with my Skrull wife. Like, what the fuck? Come on, man.
And I know his reasoning is, oh, we're going to go and make peace with the Kree so that the Skrulls can finally go back out into space. And he's going on
That's
a
my problem,
diplomatic
too.
mission.
You're telling me, over 30 years of searching, with Captain Marvel, there's not one planet that you could find that was habitable? What about the Thanos planet, where it was just a giant farm planet the entire time?
Yeah,
Not that
right?
planet? Not
where
one
do you-
planet.
where do you need
Stupid
to
writing.
Where do you need to put these people? What did they say? There's
just-
20 million? I don't even remember. It was in the million.
There's a million. There's 1 million on Earth.
Yeah. Okay, so it's even less than I thought. But like,
Yeah.
you can't house 1 million people,
On one planet.
or just let them
Terraform
have
Mars. Just do something. Like,
or just let them have Chernobyl or wherever it was they were based.
exactly.
Whatever.
Not one. And I don't know how you would work around that, where you could say, like, Nick, have you been, like, search? He could have even said something like, I've been fucking busy. Like, have you know what's happened the past 10 years? All the Avengers shit that's been going on? Also, Captain Marvel keeps doing her own thing, so I don't know. Like, we've been trying. And you could just made it like a race against the clock or something like that. But for him to just be like, there's no planets. Really? None?
Which does get me curious. Do you think the Marvels is going to be set before Secret Invasion or after, now that he's out in space?
I don't know. There's whole timeline stuff is weird. I think it's going to be set at the same time or something. I
know
read a
Fury's
dumb
in that
theory
movie.
that all the movies and all the TV shows of Phase 4, well, not all of them, but a good chunk of them are all in their own separate timelines, which
Oh,
doesn't
okay,
make
so they-
sense because
they broke up.
how many years has it
multiverse
been
and now
since
nothing matters.
Eternals, right?
Yeah.
It's been
3.
3 years since the Eternals. No one's
2 or
brought
3.
up the giant fucking like
Hmm.
Titan or whatever that's been in the ocean. No one's talked about it, even though I think when watching Miss Marvel, it was on like a cameo side like piece of news or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know how you don't bring that up.
All right.
I don't. I've heard that theory, but also Marvel's not really had a great track record when they've said, especially I think when it was after the first Avengers movie and all the main movies were happening, they were like, they're around the same time. It's like, are they? Can you just tell us?
Fury's big week. What they call Phase 1.
Yeah, really. But
'Cause I
yeah,
think-
it's just, it's tough. I really love Emilia Clarke, especially coming off of a Game of Thrones fan. She is a powerhouse. You
Great
love her.
actress.
Yeah, you would
Well,
love her.
I liked her in everything
that
I've seen
show.
her in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She plays in she plays like this sort of I can't find the right word, but this like thrown out queen, where she's trying to raise an army back to take back her rightful place on the Iron Throne, as everybody is on that show.
Yeah.
But she has this just gravitas and power dynamic to her that she plays off, that she does become threatening. It does help when you have a couple dragons, but it's just how she acts, and she brings this sort of charisma, but also just like
Gravitas.
being threatening. Yeah, gravitas as well, which is so different from how she is in real life. It's really hilarious. If you ever watch any of her like interviews or even her rom-com stuff, she's so silly, but she
She's
just
so-
gets like so
yeah.
serious. She's one of the best actors to use her face muscles. That's the best way I can say it. The way she can like move her face is insane. And I thought she'd bring that here, and she kind of did, but I don't think the material helped her that much.
Gaia, it seemed like such a wishy-washy character. She's like, oh, I'm going to join the rebels, but it nearly seems like she did it more just as a rebellious teenager.
Fuck you, Dad. Yeah.
And then as soon as her dad tried to make a point, like, he's actually the bad guy, right? Yeah, I'll betray him.
Yeah, I'll betray him.
As soon as
Oh,
she
now that you
turns...
betrayed him, do you want to come back? No. What do you mean, no?
As soon
No,
as she
I'll just
betrayed
wait till you
him,
die to join your cause. Okay.
As soon as she betrayed him, she became way less interesting to me because I could see entirely where she'd go from there. And then they killed her off, and I was like, oh.
Window.
There's what?
There's kids yelling outside my window. Sorry.
Darn kids.
Darn kids.
But yeah, just as soon as they killed her, I knew exactly... Well, that's why I thought it was interesting, because when she betrayed him, I knew exactly where they'd go with her. And then they killed her off in episode 3, and I'm like, oh, wow, you just, like, you basically just overrode everything I thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 4 happened, and everything I thought was going to happen happened anyway. So you made me think you were going to go in a different direction, and then prove me exactly right. You killed off Talos, made her the hero. Okay, on paper, I don't care. I just saw it coming.
Yeah. I will give this I'll give this show props, though, for using the superpowers from Iron Man 3. It's a little ballsy from using those superpowers. The Extremist.
Where it's basically if you...
I don't know.
Somebody found Killian?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, well, it was the power that Gravik had when he also got the group powers before the main people.
Oh, okay, because he got like Korg's powers.
It's like it's the heal thing. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the
I didn't know what that one was.
Yeah, it's briefly on the screen when the scientist going through. But yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's ballsy.
That's cool.
I think Gravik's dead. I don't know. Who cares?
Oh, he's dead now.
We found a piece of DNA. I don't know. Oh, not Gravik. Killian.
Oh yeah. What I did like about that end fight was the moment where they're beating each other up, and then Gaia gets smart and uses Mantis's powers to
that was smart.
make him go to sleep. And I don't know if, once again, this is like only for the Marvel fans, I think, because if you haven't been following the MCU, I don't even know how many people remember Mantis enough to know what her powers do. I'm like, I happen to be a big Guardians fan, so I'm like, oh yeah, Mantis's powers, that's actually brilliant. That's kind of her thing. But to casual people who are just going for the more grounded side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, would they know? Maybe I underestimate them. I didn't know Killian's powers were being used. So you went over even my head a little bit.
I tried to keep up with all the different powers that they both were using, and I still got lost. I've recognized all of them, but I was trying to like name them as they went. But it was tough. But there wasn't one where I saw... Actually, there was one. I think someone used ice powers, and I was like, who's that?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is that?
I don't know that either.
Couldn't tell you.
My first
Henry
instinct
Cavill,
for like
Superman from Snyder Cut.
When I think of Marvel and ice powers, the first thing that comes to mind is Bobby Drake. But I know
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
but I know they don't have X-Men yet.
They don't have them yet. I don't know.
I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know anyone else who uses ice.
You're full of shit, Marvel. I can see right through you.
Well, we know
you should want to show off your ice effects. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So what did we think of Don Cheadle?
I thought he had tons of fun being an asshole.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I just hated, someone brought up, I think this is a YouTube channel. I think they're called Supercut Delight. They did a lot of Game of Thrones reviews and all that. And they did a review on this where they said the show would have been great if they just didn't reveal so much at the beginning of episodes. Especially if you kept the paranoia up, it would have been phenomenal. But at the beginning of episode 4, we just see that Rhodey is a Skrull getting out of the shower. We just instantly know that as the audience. And I think that I agree with that statement. And also with Nick Fury's Skrull wife. I mean, he knows he's a Skrull, but just to be like, hey, this person's a Skrull, now you know. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. You could have had the most paranoid show whatsoever. Could have everybody be like, we think everybody's a Skrull, and maybe they are, maybe they're not.
Well, you're right. That's one of the biggest problems of the show is, I was saying right up top, one of the selling points of this show for me was you don't know who's who. They're shapeshifters. They could be anybody, but you kind of always knew who was who. Right at the beginning, they set it up interestingly with Everett Ross. Oh, okay, here's a side character from Black Panther. I'm not really that invested in him. Oh, Everett Ross is a Skrull. How long has he been a Skrull? That's kind of interesting. But then, out of the core cast of the show, we have Talos, who we've seen before. We already know he was a Skrull. We're pretty sure Nick Fury and Maria Hill weren't Skrulls because we saw them as Skrulls in Far From Home, so we know these are the real ones now. And then we have Rhodey. So by process of elimination, it was already in my mind, okay, Rhodey's the only other person in this show I've seen before, so he's probably the Skrull that's infiltrating, right? Right? Yeah. Okay. So that's why I didn't really care when they finally revealed it by episode 4, whenever it was, because I'm like, yeah, I'm already pretty sure he's the guy you're looking for. Because I didn't really suspect anybody else. They didn't make me care or be paranoid about if they had more returning characters, or if they built up, like you said, that paranoia just a little bit more with the characters, like the human characters they had. We didn't know. And it would have been, the show could have lived up to its potential a bit more if we had more of that, who is actually trustworthy here.
I mean, so imagine if this this not timeline, but this plot was taken in the Infinity Saga, where you had some Skrull members be one of the original 6. That would have been fucking insane. Not to say you can't do it now, because you can. You brought in Rhodey. Just pay a couple more of your big name actors to come in, be Skrulls. I mean, all the ones here now are kind of off planet, like all the main ones, but you still have Doctor Strange, you still have Hawkeye, you have Bruce Banner, you have the Hulk, for God's sake.
And Doctor Strange would be a good one, because I know people were talking about No Way Home. They were saying, oh, he's acting a little different. This is weird.
Yeah.
And this was a couple of years ago, at least. So to say Stephen Strange was a Skrull now, that would have been... Okay, once you bring in your A-listers and their Skrulls, that could have made this thing way more epic. And I know you're dealing on a TV budget, and just getting Sam Jackson and Don Cheadle in there was probably...
do you know how much budget this entire show was?
No, how much?
$200 million for all 6 episodes.
That's disgusting.
Which is probably because of Sam Jackson's paycheck, but that's a lot.
$212 million. And yeah, I mean, it's... They did... Look, what I'll say for the budget this time is that for once they made a good-looking show. I actually... I usually have complaints of late about Marvel's special effects work, but when I see those Skrull faces, I think that's makeup work. But if it's not...
it's all makeup,
even better. Great-looking alien effects and prosthetics. Looks fantastic. Even the CGI battles. I was like, you know what? These look decent. Some of it kind of stands out, but not even in a way that's particularly egregious. I thought it was solid effects work for once. I don't really have any complaints about that. And some of it was even really good. The de-aging effects look great too. Like that one scene when...
Oh yeah, I think they have that on lock because...
They mastered that now.
They mastered it in Captain Marvel, so they just probably had that on a hard drive, and they just did little retouches up here and there. It's crazy to go back and watch Captain Marvel. I don't know why you would, and just to see those scenes where you're just like, you can't even tell it's de-age on Sam Jackson. I don't know what it is, if it's because they just have literal 40 years of film footage of Samuel Jackson to use of when he's young.
That helps.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
I also thought the color
it's also
grading...
Disney, so...
True. I also thought the color grading and the visual style on this show was great.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they gave the whole thing a green tint.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes to the theme of, Skrulls.
And it wasn't overly, saturated. It was very subtle, kind of like how John Wick's color correcting is. There's in those movies, there's definitely a tint of green in the shadows a little bit. Or, like a bluish green.
I'll give the regular shout out to Justin on this one for pointing out how he noticed the cinematography by Remy Etta Farrison. Sorry if I
Malik?
butchered your name.
Sorry.
But he noticed how the color, the cinematography was high contrast and harsh lighting. It brought out every line in everybody's face, made everybody look worn out and older, which really added to the general vibe of the show. Everybody felt more tangible and real, and like they had the weight of the world on their shoulders. Just the cinematography and visual style of the show was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
No fault on the technical side there. Like you said, it was well directed too. Although Justin also did point out, I gotta give him credit because they aren't my things, that this show had a few consistency errors as well, which he thought was really weird for...
Shocker.
For a production as big as a Marvel production, a $200 million production, and he's like, oh, there's some very obvious continuity errors. The one... I don't really notice these things, so I got to rely on other people sometimes. But he pointed out to me how that one scene when Gravik's pouring his heart out to Fury, and Gravik had Fury by the throat. And then they do a cut, and his hand is in a completely different spot. And then Justin said, you know what? That would have been fine. He's like, that would have been fine. That would have been fine. I wouldn't care. Except they cut back to the other one right after that.
Yeah.
And that's what
it
made
happens
it
more
noticeable.
times than you think, which is really funny. I think there's a famous one is in The Dark Knight, where it's the interrogation between Batman and Joker, and Batman has him up on the window, and Joker's hands are like this in one shot, like holding the Batman's arm, and then the next shot he's like this. So you're just like, whoa. So I kind of forgive him for that, because continuity errors, there is supposed to be a guy to kind of watch it, but they happen more times than you think. Another famous one is in Django, where they're at the bar at the beginning of the movie, and each new shot, their beer keeps changing levels in terms of shots. It's like really low or they're really high. It's really funny. So it's funny. My mom, when my mom sees a continuity error, she points it out at me and points it out to me. And she says, like, they needed you because you see continuity errors. And it's weird because I'm one of those guys who love seeing them. I don't know why. I think that it's just really funny.
I suck at that stuff. That is not my strength as a critic. But, yeah, so the...
How do you feel about Skrull Wife?
Her, Priscilla. I thought she was good.
She's all right.
I thought she was good. What was the actress name? Charlene Woodard as Priscilla / Vara. I like that they gave Nick Fury a wife. It just this very super secretive guy. We never really knew much about his personal life. Oh, he's had a wife this whole time. Mm-hmm. That feels pretty in line with Nick Fury, that we wouldn't know. Like, I totally bought that he had a wife the whole time. This was definitely a retcon, but it's also, for a guy this private, he keeps his life separate from the Avengers very much. And I thought they established their relationship well. One of the best scenes of the show is when they were both going back to his house to assassinate each other, and they had their guns on each other, and they were just kind of trading poetry over that, and then they both shot and intentionally missed. It's like, oh, you still love me after all.
Someone did a clip where they did the where they shot and missed, and it's the Nick Fury looks back on the bullet behind him, and then he quotes the Pulp Fiction scene where he's like, that was a damn miracle.
That's good.
And I noticed, I was like, oh man, I never even noticed that. That's really funny.
I love those kind of cuts.
Part of me kind of would be like, what would the balls the show would have been if Nick Fury just killed his wife, but also that would have been out of character for him.
Yeah. I thought she was interesting because she also, I think she flipped sides more convincingly than Gaia did.
Yeah.
Because, of course, her first loyalty is to Fury. She's kind of that middle ground, I think, between Gravik and Talos. Talos was 100% on Fury's side the whole time. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to be a pacifist, help Nick Fury. We're buddies. I know we've had some setbacks, but that's fine. And Gravik was like, no, I'm impatient. Screw this. We're done. And Priscilla Vara was like, I'm Fury's wife and I love him and I trust him and I had his back for a long time, but then he abandoned us and now I'm getting impatient and I've, kind of started out as an assassin and I'm kind of rediscovering myself and going back to my roots and I've got nobody else all my support system is gone, basically, and then Gravik's got some good ideas, and I'm kind of enticed by his way of thinking. But then Fury comes back and gives her some more conflict. She kind of bounced back and forth until she realized where her real loyalties lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of rediscovered this love for her people. I enjoyed the burial rite scene when Gaia, as the young, arrogant Skrull, doesn't really know the history, but then Vara has to be, say the ritual prayer because she's one of the few people who still knows those elements of their culture that are getting lost. There's some really good moments in this show sprinkled in that I wish they played a little bit more into.
A notable scene that I think we forgot to mention was the train scene between Talos and Nick. I thought that confrontation was really well done. Again, two brilliant actors just going at it. 1 million Skrulls. Yeah, again, for all this show, I feel like would be way lower on my list of like MCU shows if it wasn't for Samuel L. Jackson's performance, because he really cares about Nick Fury. He really cares about this universe. He loves him. And you can see that in every scene that he's in. And he knocks it out of the park every time. Especially in those little scenes where it doesn't matter that much. Well, it does matter, but where you would normally see, like, if someone was kind of sick of their day, not really acting their heart out, but when Gravik turns his face around after getting shot in the face and he's healing, Sam Jackson's face of shock and horror, I thought was perfect.
Yeah,
I was just
that
like,
was good.
That to me, I was like, he really cares about this show.
I just wish they gave Fury a better arc.
I know.
Because I liked at the beginning, okay, Nick Fury, kind of old and worn out, has a bit of PTSD from the blip, isn't really the same Nick Fury who left. And people see that. And that's kind of a cool beginning. Okay, we're seeing Fury past his prime with a bit of PTSD, not really sure how to handle this. He's very... this is a mess of his own making, and he knows that, and he's guilty about that, and former allies have turned on him. He's kind of on the outs, and then Rhodey fires him from his job. It's a real low point in his life, which that was one of the best scenes, I thought. They're like, why don't you do a brother a favor? You think we took these jobs from mediocre white men just to turn them around to mediocre black men again? That was a great scene. But it puts Fury at his lowest point, like we've never seen him before, and it's him clawing his way back to relevancy, or at the very least, just trying to do one more good thing, because he still can.
He leaves it worse.
Yeah. And then he makes it worse, and then dips out. And I'm like, well, what did Fury really learn from this experience? He kind of got his groove back, which is good. But also in his mind, he never really lost it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't really know what his arc was supposed to be. But it had a good setup in the first 2 episodes and then didn't pay off, which was disappointing.
It's like he was an on-call janitor, and they called him to come clean it up, but he uses a dirty mop bucket and just contaminates the floor even more. And then they're like, no, it's even more of a mess. He goes, I did my 8 hours. I have to leave. That's the, you're not paying me overtime.
Leave it for the next guy.
It's just so weird. Yeah, it's just the most, I can't even say it's the most mid show ever, because I've seen more mid shows. It's just kind of a weird mess. It's just kind of just didn't live up to his potential. There was stuff in it I liked. There wasn't anything I saw that I completely hated. So I know there's people who, I think there's super fans that are like, this is Marvel and it's supposed to be phenomenal all the time, every time. It's like, you can have hits and misses.
I'm sorry, where have you people been for the last couple of years? Have you watched a movie since Endgame? I'm sorry.
Calm down.
Is this the first Marvel thing you've seen since 2019?
No, I saw No Way Home.
Okay, fine. But don't go saying Secret Invasion is the worst Marvel thing out there, all right? I hate hearing that. I've heard there's been a huge backlash to this show, and I don't understand it. It's far from Marvel's best, but it doesn't outright piss me off.
Worst.
It doesn't piss me off. It doesn't do anything ridiculously bad. It just didn't live up to its potential. It's just fine. It entertained me somewhat. The back half even started picking up. If anything, I think the biggest problem with this show was that it was a 6-hour miniseries instead of a good 2-hour movie with a more A-list cast. Get some of the Avengers in there. Even
it had a budget for a movie. It should have just been a movie.
Now, I do enjoy how it kind of, like a 2.5-hour movie, let's say. Like, let's make it long enough to build out these complex relationships in the Skrull society, and fine. But Gravik was definitely a good enough villain to carry a movie. Fury's a good enough protagonist. You could have brought some of the other Avengers in to give it some more stakes. And let's face it, half this show is padding. All of episode 4 especially didn't need to be there. The whole thing was just them fighting to save the president, basically. Like over 2/3 of that episode. And I was just kind of bored with it. Even though the action's okay. They could have done this same story, like cut out Olivia Colman's character, didn't need to be there. Pick Gaia or Talos. One of them didn't need to be there. If you, like Fury's wife, you could fit her in too, I think. But just, like, you could have done this as a movie, and it would have been just as good. Someone could probably make a supercut of this show that's just a movie cut, and it'd probably be decent, actually.
Probably the same guy who's doing that to the Kenobi series.
Yeah, sure, and I've heard that was good too. I think Disney is making a mistake trying to capitalize on these miniseries instead of just making movies. They have the concepts they're picking they're not sustainable enough for shows or even 6-episode miniseries. They're movie-length concepts that you're trying to expand for weekly content. It doesn't work. And I'm sick of them doing it.
Yeah. And some people are like, well, it worked for the Netflix shows. Why doesn't it work here? Because those Netflix shows are like super low ground, like crime organization type stuff where
they could be episodic.
Yeah,
they had enough material. They were actual shows. And I know people accuse those shows of dragging too. Frankly, some of those Netflix shows could have been done as a 6-hour miniseries. But now it's just kind of funny.
Not a movie, though.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny. The Netflix shows were TV shows that probably should have been miniseries. And now the current miniseries probably should have just been movies.
Yeah. And now the Marvel movies shouldn't have happened at all.
Oh, no. They don't really need them anymore. They're not that relevant. Just.
I let the intrusive thought win.
No, I do all the time on this show.
Oh, no.
Otherwise, I'll just
There's a clip.
Not be talking.
There's a clip right there.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking earlier. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. Talking about clips. I don't know if you have the saved clip, but during the podcast, when the lightning struck near my house, it was really loud and you could hear it. I don't know if you had that, but I just thought about that randomly yesterday.
I didn't clip that one up, but
that was so loud. I remember listening to it. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's see.
I really just bashed Marvel movies. Oh,
I do it all the time. You're a little bit better for it. You're a little more
trying to save whatever future I have.
You want to get employed by them, I know.
It's tough. Anyway, Guardians 3 though is on streaming.
Guardians 3 is great. I'll say it. I like Marvel when Marvel's good.
We liked Guardians 3. Yeah.
Yeah, Guardians 3 is one of my favorite movies this year. It's kind of the
Adam Warlock became a meme right away.
Of course. It's just, like, they do still have good stuff on occasion. And out of their last couple shows, I did like this one. I also like Moon Knight for their shows.
Moon Knight's great.
If only because Moon Knight didn't require any knowledge of Marvel before. You can just watch Moon Knight, and it's a good show on its own. This requires a lot more.
Hawkeye a lot.
Hawkeye,
there's days I really like. There's days I really love Hawkeye, and then there's days I just kind of like Hawkeye. But then I saw the clip of like Yelena and Hawkeye talking. I was like, oh, I really like.
I really liked Hawkeye. Yeah, I never understood. Great. I thought the biggest problem with it was not enough people watched it. Oh, I didn't like Kingpin. Kingpin was the only thing about that show I would.
Oh, that was my joke from earlier. Kingpin and Daredevil are Skrulls. Because they're so different.
Sure, why not?
Why would Daredevil wear that suit? Because he's a Skrull.
Exactly. Maybe.
Who
Just
knows?
say that the one who went to visit She-Hulk was a Skrull. An actual
Yeah.
Matt Murdock is still just in New York.
That
I did
means
like how
she
at
didn't
the end,
actually
though,
bane Matt Murdock anyway.
I didn't mind them together, actually. They were okay.
They were
As a
good.
couple.
I like their chemistry.
I want to see Jennifer Walters come back on a show that's not hers just to see how she's written. Because I think they did have good chemistry.
For all the shit talking we did about She-Hulk, the actress did amazing.
I did enjoy a lot about that show.
Yeah.
I know I crapped on it a lot, but it did bring me some actual enjoyment. So I got to give credit where credit's due, right?
I love the clip always pops up. It was like, when are we getting X-Men? And she looks into the camera and goes, that's so funny to me. She's like, I got you back, fans.
Yeah.
That's a great, where she jumped out of the Disney Plus menu. I was like, wow, they're going for it. Okay.
Controversial ending to many people.
I don't care.
But
I liked it.
Which, funny enough, I have heard people compare this show to She-Hulk for multiple reasons. It's like you were saying earlier. They're like, oh, was Secret Invasion written by AI? I know they did the titles. She-Hulk told us that the MCU is written by AI now. And that last season also made fun of the fact that a show that didn't need a big CGI battle did one anyway. And I know I've seen multiple people be like, She-Hulk predicted Secret Invasion. The show did not need this big battle at the end, and they did it just 'cause. And then they made fun of it in She-Hulk just a year ago.
Well, not knowing if this is true or not, but the writer's strike are trying to strike against not only getting paid more, but also to get AI out of the writer's room. So, because apparently there's some productions that are using it for just like basic stuff and then bringing in writers to fill out the gaps. So who knows if a certain big corporation with Mickey Mouse ears is doing that.
I want to see it out, personally. If an individual writer wants to use it, whatever. That's up to individual writers. But don't, like, the company shouldn't be using it in lieu of writers.
Exactly. Also pay your writers.
That too.
It's not even 1% of your salary. We're not getting into it. We did a whole podcast.
We did that last week.
We did that. We did that already.
Yeah, so I did have another point. I did like the underlying message, which to me was about refugees and xenophobia. Just in general. Like, if you look at this show just at its core, it's about refugees coming to America and people not taking kindly to that, just being super anti-immigrant and like not wanting them just because they're different. And like the people who are pro-immigrant are like, okay, well, you know, they're fleeing from oppression. You gotta, you know, be a little empathetic, show them some welcome. And, but amongst those people are also extremists the people who live there are like, well, you know, there could be extremists here. They're going to make life dangerous for us. And there are, but there's also a lot, most of them aren't. But it's kind of like the extremists ruin it for the vast majority of the group in terms of public perception. So it is a very real world parallel that this show is trying to draw from. And I think it does it okay. I wasn't blown away by their execution of it, but I think it is talking about it's talking about important and relevant things for modern society. Yeah.
Humans suck.
I'll take the Talos approach and say humans are flawed, and
humans are flawed. Will you take that with the Marvel approach? Marvel is flawed. Or are you just going to say they're terrible?
Marvel is... I don't think they're good now.
Hurting.
But they were. Yeah, they were.
It's like...
They could be again.
I saw this I don't know if you saw it. What's it called? I think it's called Hustle. It's that Adam Sandler movie where he did a basketball movie recently. Okay. He did that. And there was an owner of the team he was on, the 76ers, and someone compared that to like Marvel then, and then his asshole son took over and almost ruined everything, and that's Marvel now.
Oy.
Yeah. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, I do. I always hope with every installment we talk about Marvel, I hope they'll make a bounce back.
Yeah.
But
especially,
I'm not.
And it's going to happen with the Marvels.
Don't expect a review for that. Maybe on a leisure list, but I'm not.
You're not going to it.
I'm not going to it. You lost me for that. I don't care about. I didn't watch Ms. Marvel. Monica Rambeau didn't really stand out to me. I actively don't like Carol Danvers, and I just saw Nick Fury in his own show. I'm not clamoring to see him as a supporting character in the next one.
Mm.
Like, I've heard Ms. Marvel is fine as a character. I'm kind of curious to see her.
She's great.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I'm reasonably confident from the marketing and just from everything, and Marvel as a franchise right now, and just how I'm feeling it. My gut feeling says I'm not going to like this movie, and I'm just going to complain about it. So I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to save your time. I'm going to save my time. I'm going to save the negativity. I'm just not going to engage, not going to participate for everybody's good.
I respect that. There's one show that I'm really excited for, but the internet keeps feeding me clips, is the Ahsoka show later this month.
Oh, yeah.
But they just keep feeding me like clips and stuff, and I keep not wanting to, like, I don't watch them because I want to be surprised going into it. Whenever, even on like Disney, like Star Wars Instagram, I'll scroll by and they're starting to show me a clip, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see it. No.
I'm very excited for Ahsoka.
It's sad that actor though passed away, the main villain, because
I don't know his name, but I know his face. Yeah. So, Secret Invasion.
We will know it for the review, but
the guy with the white beard. Yeah.
It's just sad he passed. Apparently, he was a very well-known actor, I think, over in England.
I didn't know him personally, but he seems. Yeah. People seem to know him.
I recognized him.
Right. So, Secret Invasion.
Rest in peace to that
guy. Secret Invasion. I think it's okay if you're bored. I wouldn't say it's not it's not an outright recommend, but it's also like, don't avoid it at all costs. Like, if you're curious, it'll entertain you. There's some good stuff in there. A lot of good scenes, good actors, good production value.
Winter Soldier, I'll give you that. It's better than Miss. It's weird because I liked some parts of Miss Marvel. Wow, I just had a stroke. Miss Marvel. I don't know. Can they all be tied for third last?
I don't even remember the other. It's better than What If. Miles ahead of that.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what shows they've done. They've just
She-Hulk.
They've done She-Hulk. Oh, it's better than She-Hulk too.
Yeah, better than She-Hulk.
Look. I will say She-Hulk.
It's low, but it's not the worst.
She-Hulk is more entertaining. I will say, it's it's not as good. Like, I think Secret Invasion is a better made show, but it can be a little bit dull and frustrating. She-Hulk is also very frustrating, but it also might make you laugh. Maybe. So it's a different vibe for sure, but Secret Invasion is better. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's enough.
So you scroll or what?
I won't tell. You're the one with the green background. I think you were hinting.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
Yeah, there was a joke in our group chat for a while who was a scroll. And then Justin put beside my name, definitely a scroll.
Confirmed, yeah.
Confirmed scroll. That was
I think
funny.
that's still your name in there. All right, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me at Ryan Walker Official on YouTube, TikTok, and on Instagram.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at ThoughtPlay Media. Also, check out the Close Up with Ryan and Joe Facebook page for latest updates on the show. If you listen to us in audio, check out our YouTube channel. And if you're on YouTube, find us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. We hope to see you on the next Close Up with Ryan and Joe, where we review The Witcher Season 3. Till next time.
Take care.